Hello. So my name is Thomas Nolan, and I'm an instructor with the College of Liberal Studies program. And I'd like to talk to you about intrinsic versus extrinsic motivation with respect to Maslow and Hertzberg. First, a brief idea about intrinsic and extrinsic motivation. Intrinsic implies that this is a personal view, it's something that comes from within. So you look at your own ideas, why you do things because you want to do them, why you do things because you want the best for yourself, you want to accomplish certain things based on your own internal reference. Extrinsic is more of an external reference or a worldview. It's based on the things outside of you. So you might do things because you want to prove to somebody else that you can do it, and even though they may think you can't, or you want to be known outside as that kind of person that everybody respects. So given this, when we look at Maslow and Hertzberg, these are excellent ways of showing not only how they differ from each other, but with respect to intrinsic and extrinsic motivation. Maslow and Hertzberg were contemporaries, and I recall back in the 70s, I was working here at the university in OCCE, and we primarily worked with supervisors from all over the state and all over the United States and the world. And one of the things we talked about was Maslow versus Hertzberg and how they differ. There were always people in the Maslow camp and people in the Hertzberg camp. Well, Maslow was more of an, you might say, theoretical, he's more of a theoretical framework that's based on a hierarchy of needs. And those needs are physiological, safety, love, belonging, esteem, and self-actualization. And he thought of it as a pyramid, where at the bottom of the pyramid are your physiological needs for breathing, food, etc., your safety needs for security and taking care of yourself, your love and belonging needs, which has to do with relationships, and then how you felt about yourself with respect to esteem, and then finally self-actualization. He thought that very few people actually become self-actualized, although later on we began to see that many people do this. And it's not dependent on your status in life, it's just dependent on how you grow with yourself. So it makes no difference whether you're a janitor or head of a company or school teacher or whatever, you still can go through these. He also thought that you went up through these five areas as a stair step. You completed one, your physiological needs, and then you went to your safety needs, etc. Again, later on, people began to think that you might go up, go down, go up, go down, depending on what happens in life. And you might notice that before the 80s, people generally stayed with one company all their lives. Well, after the 80s, and especially now, if you stay with a company more than 3 or 4 years, you were an old timer, so to speak. So you might go up, you might go down, but it's still, once you go down, you got to go back to those steps again. Hertzberg, on the other hand, was based on an idea that there's a straight line, that line represents a fair day's work for a fair day's pay. Now, he talked about a more practical approach to it, in which he said that first, there are factors that are more external that affect your workplace, like salary, like who you work with, like the conditions and stuff like this, that are hygiene factors that get you up to this fair day's work or fair day's pay, but it wouldn't get you above that line. To get above that line, he called motivating factors. And these are more the internal references that you do things because of achievement, because you want to do the best you can, because you want to accomplish things in your life, that you have long-term goals, etc. So you might say the hygiene factors are more extrinsic, whereas the motivating factors are more intrinsic. Now we can compare those two together. So if you imagine the pyramid, where you have the physiological needs, safety needs at the bottom, and on the other side of that line, you have your esteem and self-actualization needs, and right in the middle are your social needs. So from the social needs to self-actualization can be compared to the motivating factors, and so intrinsic. From the physiological needs to social needs are your external or extrinsic factors, your hygiene factors to relate to that. So when we look at the two of these, they both reference intrinsic and extrinsic motivation. They approach it from a totally different standpoint, whereas Maslow is more of a theoretical approach, whereas Herzberg has a more practical approach to it.